Hi everyone, thanks so much for tuning in today. This is Kathy. I'm back with another Halloween card, and today I'll be using Witchy Kitty 3 from Impression Obsession. Of course, all of the products will be linked below the video as well as over on my blog. The individual Copic colors that I use will be listed out on the blog as well. This background technique is so super cool. I was really excited to try it. I had seen a video on YouTube and thought that I really need to try this. So I'm really excited about how this turned out, even though this was kind of a hot mess when I started. Well, not when I started, but you'll see in a few seconds. I'll go into what happened. All the things that could go wrong or almost go wrong pretty much did with this card, but I refused to give up. I just decided that I'm going to keep going. So I stamped the image onto a piece of 80-pound solar white Nina cardstock using Memento Tuxedo Black ink, and then I started to outline the image using BV31, and then I switched over to the chisel tip to add the ring around the moon. And here is my very first error. I picked up my BV34 marker to add another ring around the moon, and I'm going to blame it on the movie that I was watching. I got distracted and picked up the wrong marker. And you'll see here how it is that I picked up the wrong, or why it is that I picked up the wrong marker, because the color I'm using now is B63, and that actually should have been my second color, not my third. And I realize it once I finish up with that top left corner, and I go back in with the BV34 and just go over the B63. When, with the Copic markers being transparent, you have the ability to fix things as long as you're putting a darker color over the lighter color, obviously. So I just kind of went in and filled in with the darker color, and then I go back in with the B63 and try to blend some of it out and add a little bit of more of a mid-tone for the ring around the moon. And then I realized that I'm going to have to bring in yet a lighter color to try and blend those out even more. So I came in with the BV000, and it actually did work out pretty well. I did get a little bit of a muddy look up in the top right corner, but overall in the end it worked out well for the background. One tip when doing this background: make sure that your markers are really very inky. The original colors that I had wanted to do it with, I needed refills for, and I didn't have refills for them, so I decided on a different color scheme, which actually I kind of like this color scheme a little bit better. Moving right along, started coloring in the image. For the stars, I used Y11, Y13, and Y15. I didn't really do anything super fancy. Tried to keep it lighter in the center of the stars so that it would appear that my light source was coming kind of more from the front. And filling in the kitty with W4, adding my shadows underneath the hat where it would cast a shadow on his face. This is the same, I pretty much used the same color scheme for the cat on this card as I did on my previous Halloween video that I had done. And I'm so excited that it's finally October, yay, because Halloween is my very favorite. So I expect that I'll be making a whole lot of Halloween cards soon. So keep an eye out for those videos as well. For the blending on the cat, after I filled in the shadows and whatnot with W4, I moved in with W3 just to blend that out and add a little bit more color. Really just using the very, very tip of the marker. Not doing a whole lot of fancy blending again. I just wanted to create some dimension. And I finished up the cat with W2, W1, and then I did a quick swipe, I think, with W0 just to lighten up some of the areas that I thought were still a little bit too dark. Once I'm done with the cat, I move on and color in the little witch hat there. And for the witch hat, I start with the YR68 to add, which is my darkest color, and that's to just kind of map out where my shadows are going to be. Again, just using the very tip of the marker. The next color I move in with is the YR15 to blend out some of the YR68. And I just keep coloring there. And finally blend that out with the YR12. This is one of my favorite color combinations. It works really well for, you know, pumpkins and obviously a little witch hat on a kitty. It works well with flowers, and those markers too. Whew, they're getting dry, so I ordered my refills and hopefully they'll be arriving soon. So for the band on the hat, I used YG25, YG21, and YG0. And I alternated the stripes that are on the band of the hat there. And then I went in with the same color that I used for the background. I went in with the B63. Didn't do any shading on those stripes because I just didn't really feel that it was necessary. Here what I'm doing is I'm adding in shadows or craters on the moon, and I started with W0 and just randomly scribbled, basically just scribbled. Then I went in with the W1 just to darken up some of those shadows a little bit, blended it out with my W1, and then moved on to the broom. I started with E31, again mapping out where the shadows would be there. Moved on to my E37 for the darkest areas. There would be a shadow underneath the cat where he's actually sitting on the broom. And then there would be a shadow cast, you know, where his tail is over at the end there. And I'm not really sure what's going on with my voice, but it's very froggy. It could be that it's somewhat early in the morning for me to be doing this. For the broom bristles, I colored in all of them with YR21 just so I could kind of see what I was going to be doing and where I wanted to add in my shadows. I went in with YR23 to add in shadows on some of the bristles, those that were laying underneath the others, and went over it with Y21 just to blend all of those colors. I decided that my moon needed to be a little bit, or the shadows on the moon needed to be blended out a little bit, and I also needed to add a few more shadows on the moon. So that's what I'm doing here. Same colors. I did W0 and W1. And then just to get a really good blend, I come in with the colorless blender just to soften up some of those harsher lines. So for the ribbon around the kitty, I had some commitment issues. I really wanted to use C1 to add the shadows, but I was afraid that it would be too dark and it would be a little bit lost, especially because I used warm grays for the cat. So what I did was I ended up just settling on BG70. It added enough of a shadow. For me to have that ribbon continue to look more white than anything, and I didn't have to worry about it overpowering the ribbon with, like would have happened with a C1 had I used that. But that's just me because I tend to overshadow or add too much ink. And to add some sparkle to the ribbon wrapped around the kitty, I used my trusty Wink of Stella brush pen. I just went over all of the ribbon parts, and then I also added some sparkle to the yellow stars as well. To complete the background, I wanted to add something, and I thought about adding little stars using white gel pen, but I thought that might take entirely too long. So I pulled out my Mr. Huey's color mists and decided just to spray white stars all over it. And before I did that, I created a mask for the image to protect it from the spray, which that was almost a nightmare too, because when I shook it up and took off the cap, it like exploded all over my table. Quick cleanup and I was able to move on and spray it. I die cut the stamped panel with an A2 scallop die. It's the second largest, oh no, it is the largest one from Honeybee Stamps. And I die cut it out of black cardstock and then the stamped panel. The stitching detail makes it easy to cut off the scallops, and then the rectangle fits perfectly in the scalloped rectangle. I finally just used my Tombow liquid glue to adhere all that down to finish up the card. And that was it for it. Thanks so much for tuning in today. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. And there are a couple links at the end of the video for a few other videos that you may enjoy. Thanks again for stopping by, and we'll see you soon.